Afternoon, Facebook. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Hello, this is Debby Enoe from the Teachers Success Coach on my platform, the Female Educator Roundtable. I forgot what I was doing. And I'm here with Catherine, who is going to introduce herself, because today's topic we are looking at feedback, the way teachers give feedback online, because online is a very different platform, as we are all beginning to become accustomed to, and we are all aware of that. So we are going to look at how feedback is different online than it is in the classroom. Catherine, introduce yourself, please, and thank you for coming on the show.
Okay, thank you for having me, Debbie. I'm Catherine Armstrong. I'm originally from Costa Rica. That's where I grew up. And I started my career as an educator there for a few years, teaching English as a second language in primary schools. And then I moved to the US, where I was a bilingual teacher, working with children with primarily Hispanic background. And I work with them in helping them develop their language skills in their second language. And now I live in Italy, where I teach communication to science students, different fields in science, in English. And my students are in a master's program, like I said, in different areas of science. So I'm very excited to participate in this discussion. And yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, we are now in this online space. How different it is, and what are the challenges and triumph that you've been experiencing on a general basis?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to go into, connecting it with how you actually now do feedback.
Okay, well, some of the biggest challenges have been working from home because I have 3 kids. So my kids are school-age kids, well, 2 of them. And so sometimes we were all connected at the same time for them, for the classes, and I was teaching. So that has been a challenge, also to keep my little one quiet while I'll try to teach. So that has been the biggest challenge, in addition to learning how to use this tool. I use Zoom also, but trying to create an interactive, let's say, environment using technology has not been easy to do. But I thought it was essential since I'm teaching communication, okay? So I had to learn very quickly how to use all the tools that I was given with, let's say, no support or no training. But in addition to dealing with emotional things of being in lockdown. So that has been the biggest challenge.
Right, thank you. Because some of the conversation I had with some educators are the fact that, as you rightly say, negotiating the fact that you have family, and you also have to attempt to teach your own children while trying to, continue teaching your students.
Yes. Yes.
That's something is overlooked. I don't think people realize some of the challenges that also posed.
Yes, and also because at the very beginning, like nothing was structured. So my kids had lessons sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. So we have to keep track of when do we have lessons. So it was really difficult. Fortunately, my kids are very independent, so I didn't have to teach them, to be honest. But I have to make sure that they knew when they have classes and that they had whatever they needed to participate in their lessons. Okay, so we also had to purchase another computer because it's not like most people don't have a lot of computers for everybody to use. So we have to purchase another computer and other accessories so that we could all have what we needed during this time. So yes, it's it's a difficult thing. It has been very difficult.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's, you were fortunate, you were in a fortunate position because you were able to purchase another computer. This morning I did a talk with, I did a presentation to teachers in India, and one of the challenge was the lack of resources for all the students to access it. And
Yes,
as a result of lack of those resources, it meant that they had issues and challenges in terms of teaching the students, because
yes,
that's one of the things that said to me, okay, so how do we overcome that?
yes. So there was no inclusion for some kids. There was no inclusion. Like I've heard of colleagues of mine in Costa Rica that, because in Costa Rica, not everybody has good internet access. Depending on the area, it's very difficult to have good access. So uh, that was another issue. I know some of my kids' classmates sometimes were disconnected. They couldn't participate because they didn't have internet. And so not just the computer, is the internet access. So yes, I am aware of that. I'm aware of the privilege we have, the being able to purchase another computer and have internet that was sufficient for the three of us to use it at the same time, which was not, which was a challenge. Sometimes like, did you disconnect it? I have to do it. It was very, but it took a lot of effort of all of us to communicate and try to help each other and be, conscious of, I need this. So when you finish using it, let us know. So yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's the challenge of being mindful that as much as we want our student to participate online, as educators we also need to be conscious that they may not be able to participate because they may not have the tools to do so.
yes,
And for me, it was a rude awakening when some of my educators were saying to me that they were living in rural areas, so as a result of that, some students had no internet and they had no computer.
yes,
And you see, although the students here may not have access to computer, they have their mobile phones. So they
yes.
still had some form of access because, which they were able to use.
Yes, I think another thing that as teachers, going back to our bag with tools where we can get everything, one of the tools that we had to get out during this time was our emotional intelligence skills, and being able to empathize with students who do not have all of that, or that maybe they have a lot of brothers and sisters, and so the noise in the house was not conducive to learning, or the situation in the house was not conducive to learning. um, a lot of people lost their jobs, so the stress of a family can actually impact a lot, how children perform,
Mm.
or even adults. I have students who had breakdowns in the middle of class, that they were crying, they were in difficult situations, even though I, I am a psychologist originally, so I could see that. I was able to talk to my student individually and find out that that was what was happening. But we have to get out the social emotional skills to help our students during this time.
Mhm. Thank you for that, because there'll be a lot of issues after this lockdown, which we as educators will have to deal with. Because
Yes,
something I've said to the group this morning, when the schools reopened, we have to, abandon our teaching and start to become counselors and
yes,
supporters for these students. Because
absolutely.
teaching would be suspended from us as educators probably for 2 or 3 weeks, because
Yes,
we'll have to deal with the students before we could actually get them to the academic
exactly.
platform, because we need to deal with the mental aspect before we actually take them forward in terms of the academic,
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
it's going to be tough.
Yes, and I hope we can all start preparing ourselves for that, because we're going to have that new challenge, and it's helping children coping with going back and be in a classroom, or learning again how to interact with people with all the restrictions that we might still have to face. I don't know. Here, there's a lot of controversy about the social distance and how kids are going to go back with all this. So we're going to have to teach them how to stay away from other peers, especially for younger kids. How do you teach them that they have
Yeah.
to respect the social distance
Yeah.
when they it's a natural thing for them to be close to each other. So we're going to have to learn and get some new tools um, to know how to face those new challenges that will come.
Yeah, that is very true. In terms of feedback,
Mhm.
how do you give feedback to your student in the online space?
Okay, I don't think the way I did it in the past changed that much with the online platform. I usually give verbal, and I did during this semester. I did gave verbal feedback. Written, sometimes I will write individual messages on the chat, giving feedback, or gestures. I would just say something like this, or something that show that something that prompt them and let them know that something that could help boost their confidence. So I don't think it changed that much because I used to do that. I used to give verbal feedback, written gestures in the past. So it just changed the medium, but my feedback was still kind of the same.
Okay, okay, thank you. How often do you give feedback to your students?
I
You know,
try
when you
to do it like every time I see them or every time they have a task, because I try to do it in a way that they can see what they're doing, it's in the right path, or if we can do something together to improve their performance. So I think every day. No, I don't think. I'm sure that I give feedback every day. I try to. I purposely look for something that they're doing and try to give them praise, like specific praise um, about the task. In every lesson I have, there's a task. So I will always give feedback on the task
okay,
and whatever
okay.
task they accomplish or completed.
Do you feel that now, in terms of the online space, do you think that you had to structure your lesson a little bit differently? So, which means you gave feedback much more often. Do you see that is the case?
Yes, yes, I think I had to give feedback more often because sometimes, I mean, I guess the human contact makes it easier to show students how to do something. So sometimes they were I felt that they felt very insecure of what they were doing. Okay, it's not easy to just meet with a big group of people that they don't know. We started the semester without knowing each other. My students did not know each other, and they didn't know me. So it was not easy to do different in my course. They have to do presentations, and they have to write papers, of course, and all that. So I felt that they were very insecure because there was not this confidence that you can have when when you have time to uh, interact with people. So I felt that I had to give more feedback to try to boost their confidence and boost their abilities.
Okay. So how did you manage in terms of they're new and they have to do presentation? So how did you actually get them to do the presentation? And did they have to do presentation individually or in groups?
Sometimes individually, sometimes in groups. So first, I spent a few times, quite a few lessons, trying to do games online, actually, like debates and like trivia games, so that in teams, so that they felt connected. That they could work. And then after that, it was a little easier because they didn't know each other at all. Like, I have students in my course, I have students from different departments in the same school but different departments, so they didn't know each other. So there's the possibility to do the break rooms here on Zoom. So I have them sometimes in pairs interview each other or discuss a topic, and that created a little bit, as much as we could, a little bit of a group atmosphere. So yeah, that's what I have to do. I would say that like for almost a month, we did a lot of activities like those, to create a more relaxed atmosphere.
Did you think that, did you think when you actually have them in breakout rooms, did you think that, how well do you think that worked?
That went a lot better than the whole group, because it's one on one. Even though there's a screen, there's still one on one. So if I make a mistake, which I just want to emphasize that my students are speaking in English, and it's not their first language. So if they made a mistake, they only have one person there. Whereas when there's the whole group, they're more self-conscious of their mistakes. So it worked very well. And I often ask my students to give me feedback, about things that make them comfortable and things that went well, things that they like to do. So that was one of the things they told me, that they felt better to work in pairs in some discussions. Some discussions had to be in groups, but they told me that. And so I just don't ask for feedback for nothing. I ask them because I want to implement whatever they tell me works for them. So,
Okay, thank you. The other thing is, you said you did games with them.
mhm.
What was the purpose of you doing games with them? Let's hear why you did games with them.
Well, the games were in English, so vocabulary building. Let's say that was not my goal, but my goal was that they, when people are relaxed and they're having fun, they learn more.
Yes,
So
yes.
that was my goal, that they feel that the tension that you have when you're in a class and I have to pay attention will go away, so that they will learn in a fun way. And sometimes we think that that's only for little kids. And at the beginning, sometimes some students were a little like, okay, we're at the university, like we don't play games. But then it was so nice to see them smiling, because when I had them on the screen, they were all so serious. I felt like, oh my God, are you scared that I'm gonna do something? And then you will see them laughing and laughing, and I'm like, this is what I want. Because if they are like this relaxed, whatever we do, it's gonna be more meaningful than if you're just waiting for the teacher to say everything and you just passively listening. So that was my real goal.
And did you find that it did work, right?
Yes, yes. I saw, and they told me that in their free time they had meetings. I mean, they connected in pairs, in small groups, and they practiced things. It built this community sense. They did it on their own. And so and it was funny because the last lesson, the very last day of class, I said bye, and it was, unfortunate that we didn't have a chance to meet in person, because we still have not met. And they told me, okay, well, when everything's open, we can go and have a drink together. Because they were looking forward to finally meet, because we had fun. And they told me that in other classes they only had a screen where there was a document being shared, so they didn't even see the teacher. They only saw a document, and the teacher will talk about the document. So some of these students are not from the city where we live. They are from other cities, so they live here by themselves. So imagine that the only interaction that they had was the communications class. So these new friends that they made, became like real friends, because they met in a situation where they needed interaction, and that was the only interaction they were having at the moment.
Right. It's interesting. Something you've said that actually just triggered in my head.
Mhm.
The fact that teachers are actually not showing the face, so that the students are just seeing the document.
Yes.
I find that actually adds to the isolation of the
Yes.
student.
Yes. That happened to my children too. My children only saw a document. I will see my children with doing something else. And I'm like, why are you not in front of the computer? Because I can't see the teacher. I can hear her. They would tell me, I can hear her. So they were moving around the room because, and sometimes it was not even required. Some teachers will even tell them to turn off their video and just in audio and just listen. So, you know, that does not engage learn. It's not engaging if you're not showing your face. For me it's really important to see my students faces, because then I can read, are you understanding what I'm saying? Are you bored? Are you doing something else? I can read my students faces if I see them.
Yeah.
So for me it was crucial that they all had their video on.
Yeah.
And I never told them to turn off their microphone, or let's say that at the beginning we did, because we were learning how to take turns and not all speak at the same time, but they knew that they were allowed to intervene at any moment. It was not just me speaking. So I think it was, I mean, I had 100% attendance the whole semester. The whole
Oh.
semester. And sometimes, like, you know, sometimes like you don't want them to be all present because you want to relax. They were all there, but I think it was the only time. I don't think it was because of me. I think it was because it was time to have interaction, not just with me, with each other.
Thank you. That's interesting because it actually demonstrates the importance of having an online community.
Yes, yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because your experience clearly demonstrates the importance of an online community, because it was not, it was, yes, the presence of the educator, we supported that, but it also meant that they actually, connected independently as well, because they saw the need for the connection.
Yes, yes. And you know, because whoever has an immigrant background like myself, we always use online ways to communicate, because I have to communicate with my family in the US, my family in Costa Rica. So I always did. But a lot of these students, all the relatives live around them and their friends live around them. So they don't use um, media to communicate. But during this time they have to, so they learn the importance of using these tools that we have to communicate.
They had no choice. It also made them realize the importance of having the community network, because in the classroom they will have all of them right there and they'll form their friends, etc.
Yes,
but when that's not present, they really had to rely on the online platform.
exactly.
And your session really clearly demonstrated the importance of the community, the online community, in relationship to how it really works and how important it is.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I know for me it's important during this time. I talked to my other teacher friends that I have, and we talked about, what resources are you using, how do you, because we didn't have any training. And so we had like weekly meetings, just because we wanted to communicate with each other and learn new things, how to use Zoom, or how to use other things, how to share videos, how to share different things. The break rooms, I didn't know at the beginning, and when I discovered that, I was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. And so, but I learned that because another colleague showed me how to do it. And so the importance of also us as educators to have our community to help each other. I remember one of my colleagues that teaches primary school, she was so overwhelmed, and I posted something on Facebook related to break rooms, and she called me and she told me, tell me about it, I don't know anything. And she told me, I have no ideas right now, I don't know what else to do to keep my students engaged. And I said, well, I can help you if you want to. And it's not like I'm full of ideas, but sometimes we just need somebody else, some other perspective to learn new things or to use things, because the resources are available for everybody, but sometimes we just you know, can't remember that we have all these things in there.
Yeah, that is very true, because yesterday I spoke about some of the anxiety educators have been telling me they're going through. And the anxiety was the tools. The young ones were saying to me they did not feel confident enough to be teaching the subject. Although they have already been trained, they know their stuff, but the anxiety and the lack of confidence, it meant that they were not confident to share the message with the students because they were not trained in the online space. So it's like have to retrain themselves. And on the other hand, I have the more mature educators are saying to me that they know the technology is there, but they're afraid of the technology and they don't know how to use it. Because they've never put themselves forward to use it. Even during, professional development, they are going to shy away from it because they're saying to you that, oh, well, I don't need to use it. But now they have no option.
They have to use it.
Exactly.
Everybody has to use it.
Exactly. And that's been a real big anxiety for the more mature educators.
Yes. But for instance, there were a lot of things that I didn't know how to do them, and I planned and I thought that I rehearsed for it, but it didn't come out the way I expected. So sometimes even my students help me. I asked them, do you know? And they would tell me, okay, I think you can look on the right side of the screen and there's a little, and they help me. And that's okay. It's because sometimes we have this feeling that because we are the teachers, we should know everything. And we don't. We don't.
Exactly.
So and it's okay if the students know more than we do, because the learning and teaching, it's a cycle. I learn a lot from my students, and hopefully they will learn a lot from me too. So it's okay to show this vulnerability and tell students, I don't know how to do it. Maybe, does anybody know how to do it?
Yep. I am very good at demonstrating my vulnerability when it comes to technology with my students. Because, when I was teaching them, in the classroom, a lot of times they're saying to me, when I'm putting the PowerPoint on and there was something else I need to connect, and I'm saying to them, I really don't know how to connect, the video to this. So can someone come up and take over?
Yes.
I'm asking them to come and take over because, as I say to them all the time, I do not have all the answers. Yes, I'm an educator, but I'm also a facilitator, also facilitating the learning as well. I do not have all the answers. I do not have a dictionary or a manual in my head. I need support as well.
I always tell that to my students too.
Exactly. And the more we demonstrate vulnerability to our students, the more the students begin to connect with us as humans.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I really feel that when I show that I am human, they are more respectful of what being a teacher is, because they know we are not perfect. We don't know how to do everything. And so when we make mistakes, it's okay because you're human.
Yeah.
Whereas if I try to present myself as somebody who knows everything, the moment I make a mistake, they're going to be judging you. Oh, the teacher made a mistake.
Yeah, it is very true. And, what you say is very true, because I think what I've discovered is the teachers who've been in teaching a very long time and who have not progressed in their developmental stage, they are less likely to demonstrate their vulnerability.
Yes, I think so too. I agree with that, because at the beginning of my career, I wanted everything to be perfect. I had like a script. Even though the script didn't work, because if a student will tell you something else, but it's like you wanted everything perfect. And then, over the years, you learn that it's okay. We are in this together.
Exactly. And even your lesson planning, it's like when you just started, you're trying that your lesson plan work perfectly. You go into the classroom, you're trying that everything works methodically. But halfway through, you realize, whoops, I did not plan this into my lesson plan that a
Yeah.
student disrupting and not listening.
Yes.
So I have to go back to the drawing board.
Oh, we had one time like a spider coming in the room, so everybody's like, ah! So I didn't plan for that.
Exactly. So as educators, we are constantly thinking on our feet. We
Yeah.
have no option than the times we have to abandon the lesson plan and just teach.
Yes. Or sometimes, we talk, like even today, we were going to talk about feedback, but sometimes we have to speak to students about whatever they want to learn in that moment.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm planning a lesson about global warming, or I don't know, just to say something. But they want to speak about the political situation of the moment. So I'm not going to say, oh no, today I plan for global warming. I have to speak to them about whatever they want to learn. And I think that is an important thing in the sense that sometimes teachers are so pressured to follow a program that they forget to teach what students need.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that. And they actually forget the human in the student.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly.
Because they're so curriculum driven that is being removed.
Mm-hmm.
And, even though we have the curriculum to follow, I think I've got a topic on curriculum 10 coming up in the next few weeks. Even though we have the curriculum to follow, educators could still be very innovative.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with that too. Yes, we don't. I mean, we can do so many things. We can make so many connections with a certain curriculum objective, modify it for what my students are experiencing at the moment, what my context. I cannot teach something about, I don't know, I can't think about an example right now, but maybe it's not appropriate for the context that where the school is, even where the school is. So I can innovate, I can change it.
Yeah, yeah. That's why educators, especially now on the online space, we need to be prepared to sometimes we have to abandon certain things that we're planning to do, and we
Mhm.
just have to roll with whatever comes up.
Yes, yes.
Because it's a lot of times that we feel that we are constantly have to follow in this plan. Sometimes the plan doesn't work. We have to walk the plan sometimes.
Yes. Hmm.
And I keep on saying that to educators because we are now in a new normal.
Hmm.
And this new normal requires us to be thinking on our feet because there are no manuals. The manuals are through our experiences and observation.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I do feel that we need to use more of that.
I think, yeah, we have to, uh, you know, stop carrying this weight of, oh, the curriculum, the standardized testing. I mean, it's important. There are certain things we have to follow, but the goal of the educator is teaching their students, prepare them for their future. So the rest will come along. The rest will come along. If we teach them skill, we have to teach them skills, because if we teach them how to learn, they will learn whatever they need to learn for a test, standardized test. But if they don't know how to learn, they just memorize. So I just wasted my time because I didn't teach them the skills they need for the rest of their um, school life, let's say.
That is very true. That is so very true because too often we are teaching them to the curriculum or through the standard we've got. We are not moving outside of the box.
Yes.
And you see, that's the power and the importance of feedback. As I
Yes.
keep on saying to educators, we should be giving feedback on every and anything.
Yes. I honestly, I always try to find something to tell them on whatever they do, because many years ago, when my oldest son was little, he went to martial arts lessons, and I saw how the instructor, they were little kids, so they didn't know how to line up in the proper way. So he didn't call out the students that were not lining up. He just said, I like that you were the way you're lining up, to the ones who were doing it. And then all the rest were copying. So if we praise good things, if we encourage and if we give feedback, positive feedback, it's like it's easier to obtain the result that we want. And that stick to my son is 18. That happened when he was like 4 or 5, and I still remember, because it was so obvious how his praise, his feedback, to instead of saying negative things to the other kids who were not in line, he just gave feedback to the one who was actually doing what he was expecting, and all the rest did it.
Mm-hmm. You see, that is so fantastic, because that's basically the rest just model that student.
Yes.
So that's what, in terms of within the classroom, those are the things we need to actually focus on. Focus on the student that is doing well. When you praise them, the others would fall in line.
Yes.
Instead of spending the energy saying to one student that, oh, you didn't do that. It is so draining.
No. And that will go for everything, not just behavior. Like I could say, I really like the way you spend a lot of time writing this nice, I'm talking to little kids. I will say in a different way to older kids, because then the other ones will see that, there was positive praise or positive feedback. And we all want positive feedback. We all want feedback. And some people will settle for negative if that's all we give. But I think everybody wants positive feedback. Yeah. So I think that's also very key, to be specific about the feedback you give. Not just say good job. No, say what is good about this. Okay, like the way I wrote it, the way I said something. Be specific about the feedback we give, because then students can imitate, let's say, whatever you're praising. If you're specific, if I just say good job, they don't know what I'm saying. What is good about it?
That's very, very true. That's what I tell my students. I don't want them to use good. I say good doesn't tell me anything.
No.
Good is such an abstract word. Exactly. That what does it mean? So anytime they write an essay and they put good, I put a circle around it, because you need to expand on that. It doesn't say anything to me.
It's so subjective, like what is good for me might be bad for somebody else.
Exactly. And it's really interesting when you say in terms of giving feedback and tailoring the feedback to specific area. That is so very important, because giving general feedback, the students become totally lost.
Yes. And it doesn't have value.
Yeah.
It doesn't have value. Good job. Or good. Well, excellent. For me, those words don't. But if you tell me, I like the way you explain this topic, then I know that's exactly what I did well.
Yes. And the interesting thing about that is, I find that when you give such specific feedback, when the student have a future essay or piece of work, that piece is going to be done so well. Yes. Because you actually give them feedback on that. Yes. So very rare that you have the student making the same mistake. Because I found that when I don't give specific feedback, this piece of work is coming back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yes. Because I wasn't specific. Exactly. The minute I became specific and actually home in on, this is what you've done, this is very, very good, this is fantastic, because you've written the sentence, you make the connection, the rest of the essays flows. Exactly.
And I think that it's because that's what we have to think about feedback. What is the goal of feedback? And the goal should be to, provide a positive learning experience. If our goal is to punish a student for something they did wrong, then it's not going to work. We want to promote things that are doing well to do it better, or even discuss how to improve something, because you might give feedback of something that is not done well, so that it can be improved, but we can say it in a positive way.
Yeah. I personally feel it is so important for us to enable students to embrace the failures, to embrace the negative, because I actually add that in my in my discussion this morning with the students, with the teachers in India, because too often we ridicule negativity and failures. So as a result of that, the students feel that they cannot make mistakes. And sometimes they take them so long to give you an assignment.
No, it has to be in a timely manner. Otherwise, you forgot what you did. So how are you going to learn from those mistakes if you don't even know what you wrote or what you did?
Exactly. But you see, the issues we have is when educators do not allow students to embrace the negativity or embrace the failure. Because I've had classes where students going to come to me and I'm saying to them, you all are just sitting there. I do expect you to be interactive because I cannot just be the one talking. You need to be interactive. And they will say to me, oh, miss, because when I talk and it was wrong, the teacher was upset. No, I want you to talk. Get it wrong. You just need to talk. I need an interactive classroom. And that is something I find, you know, in most of the schools I've been into, I'm the one saying to students, it is okay to embrace your failures, because on the other side of the failure, the learning curve and the experience.
Exactly.
But when they have actually been programmed that when they make a mistake, it is the teacher becomes annoyed, it is frowned upon. When they come to you, you have to try to undo all this programming.
Yes. This is what I've noticed in students throughout the years, not just this semester, throughout the years, that they are afraid of asking questions because they are afraid of annoying the teacher. And this is something I always tell them, you know, I am here to help you. So the more questions you ask me, the more I can help you. Okay. There are no stupid questions. All questions, you know, and I always say this, it's more stupid the person who has a question and remains wondering what's the answer than the person that finds what the answer is. And then the other thing about the mistakes, this was lesson number 1. I told them, if you don't make mistakes in this class, then you should not come to this class, because that means you're perfect. You're not going to learn anything in this class if you're not making any mistakes. You're going to learn from your mistakes. Whenever you make a mistake, that's how you learn. So if you intend not to make any mistakes here, that means you already achieved every goal of this course. So you should not attend it.
Yeah. I like that. I totally agree with you there, because that's one of the challenges rather I have been experiencing, because what I do, I go from different schools because I'm not based in any one school.
Okay.
You know, through choice. So when I go to different schools, that's the same challenge I'm faced with, where the students are not prepared to, as you say, answer question because they're afraid they might get it wrong. And I'm saying to them, I want you to get it wrong. I want you to speak, because when you get it wrong, you are going to always remember the right answer, because you now have the right answer. And it is so, that's one of my biggest frustration, trying to get students to embrace the failures and feel that it is okay to make the mistakes. Because you see, from time immemorial, students have always been told that they have to have it right.
Exactly. But I think one way is to show when, you know, to make a big deal when we make mistakes, so that they can see, oh, she made mistakes, and then, you know, nothing happens. It's okay. So if we model that, okay, I made a mistake, and I say like that, oh, I made a mistake when I said that. Even if maybe it happened the previous lesson, I would say, last time I told you this and I was wrong. I would say that. Purposely, so that they know that it's okay to make mistakes. And go back and find the right information. Or sometimes I would tell them, when they ask me questions, I don't know the answer to that, but we can find it.
Yes. I remember when I said that to one student first, when she asked me a question, I said, to be honest, I said, I don't know the answer. Let's look it up. And the next lesson we're going to discuss it. She said to me, but Miss, you're supposed to be the teacher. I said, yes, but I do not have a thesaurus or a manual in my head.
Yes, I say I'm not an encyclopedia.
Exactly, because it is the expectation of the student that as educators, we should have all the answers, because that was the situation that always been given to them. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to change this um, role that the teacher, but this is like from a long time ago, when the teacher knew everything. In the past, when there was not so much knowledge about the world, so one person could hold all this knowledge, but now so many things to know that one person cannot know everything.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we have to change this concept of what a teacher is. And it
Yeah.
is not a book with all the answers. It is not a dictionary. It's not Wikipedia.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, because that's some of the things we've actually had in relation to how students actually see us as educators. They
Mhm.
feel that we should have the dictionary, because when they ask me to spell one, I am not your dictionary. They expect us to have all the answers in our
Yes.
head. And when you say you don't know, they kind of a look, Miss, you don't know, you're the
How do you
teacher.
know? How do you
You know.
not know? You're the teacher.
Exactly, exactly. And I think now, they're now beginning to embrace it a lot more than they once used to, because before there was this expectation,
Yes, yes,
you know,
yes. I
which is,
make sure that my students understand that, and that that I don't pretend that I know everything. I don't pretend. That's another thing. We don't have to pretend that we know everything. So I think some teachers pretend they know everything,
yeah.
and so that could perpetuates the concept that teachers know everything. We don't have to pretend, and show them humbly, show them that we don't know everything.
And I think it's a situation where we need to be willing to embrace it, that and accept for ourselves that we don't know anything. Because the minute we do not accept it for ourselves, we actually set ourselves up, because we have this, big thing that as a teacher, you know all the answers.
Yes.
And I think that's a false concept.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Absolutely. Mhm.
Right. Finally, have you got any tips for educators who are online in terms of how they give feedback? There's one or two you've actually said, I just want you to pull it together. How they should give feedback to the student, bearing in mind that in the online space,
Mhm.
they need to give feedback very differently, because of the online space needs student to have, you need to actually encourage them a little bit more,
Yes.
and in terms of build their confidence a lot more than you would in the classroom. So bearing those in mind, what would be the tips you will actually give to educators in relationship to the way they would give feedback from the way they would normally give feedback in the classroom?
Okay. I think difficult question, but I
Just
think
pulling
one
things together.
yeah, I think one proper thing to do is to give like one-on-one feedback. So, for example, whenever my students wrote a paper, I had a conference with them on Zoom. I had a conference with them individually. It took me a long time. So we talked before about this, that nobody knows all the extra time the teachers, you know, spend doing extra activities. It took me a long time because I spent like 10-15 minutes with each of my students talking about their papers, going over everything. Because if you give a paper to a student, they just see the mark, they don't see
Yes.
the errors.
Yeah.
So I wanted to spend time with them and talking about each thing, and if they have questions, why did I correct it? So I made appointments with all of them, and every 10 minutes I had to let somebody in the waiting room. Somebody was in the waiting room, and I let them in, and so I had a conference with each one of them individually. So one-on-one feedback, it's good. I cannot just say the papers were really good. No, because they need to know what was good about their own paper, what went well, and what needs to be improved in a in their specific case. So that it will be one. Like I said before, encourage them to give you feedback. It's important to know their perspective, that went well in this lesson? What things are doing? What things can we change about our online? We are all experimenting this world of online learning. So it's good to hear what they feel, how do they feel about it, and what works better for them. So I encourage them to tell me, to give me feedback about the activities we were doing online. Another thing is, like, discuss with them what is the importance of feedback. Like, why do I give you feedback? And to realize that feedback is so that you can improve what you're doing or maintain something that you already doing very well. And like, give genuine praise, not just like, oh, you're such a hard work, like some not things that are superficial, like really something that I believe about these students. Like, if we use the same praise for every student, they're gonna know that it's not real.
Yeah.
Because she always says that. So if I say, I really like that you always use humor when you discuss something, and I say that to one student, I really like that you really empathize. So I find what is unique about each of my students, so that they know that the feedback is genuine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you said before, I think the time, how soon I give feedback, it's important. I cannot wait after a month to give them their assignments back. I have to be as quick as possible. I have to try to do it fast. It's very hard to mark papers when you still have to prepare lessons and do other things. It's really hard. But then you know that your work is going to get better, because then students will immediately get feedback and things will improve faster.
Yeah.
I've seen, this is a discussion that I have with my kids. Kids of teachers are almost teachers when they finish school, because they know everything. So, like, sometimes my kids have an assignment, a written assignment, and then they don't get feedback, but they get another assignment. So they say they do the same mistakes because they have not received feedback on the previous one.
Yeah.
So they if there's an error, they continue to do it.
That's one of the challenges, with some educators. I understand that sometimes, there's heavy workload. In that case, you need to stagger giving the other assignment.
Yes.
Because one of the most challenging things is when you give the assignment and you are getting the repeat of the previous.
Yes. I'm like, I get tired when I see the same thing. So when I receive the papers, I spend the whole weekend. It was very tiring, but I say, I'm going to read all this now, so the next week I can give them to them. But the thing is that the next assignment that I gave them, I didn't have to read that much because they were very easy to read.
Yeah.
Because they pay attention to those things. So yes, it's a lot of work, but then it will make your work in the future a little bit easier.
Yeah, definitely. And it definitely does.
Yes, it does.
That you've already sorted out the errors, and hopefully they do not make the same mistakes.
There's always some.
Yes.
They take a little bit longer, the late bloomers.
Yes.
But then, it's also a great satisfaction to see that students pay attention to the feedback you gave them, and don't do the same. It gives you satisfaction to see when they improve their writing or whatever skills you are trying to help them.
Something you pointed out, which is so interesting. Initially, when I give students back the assignment, I used to put the grades on them. But then I realized all their focus is on what grade do you get? What grade did you get? Yes. I thought, you know what? I stopped putting the grade on it. I get them to listen to read the feedback. And when I actually have a one-to-one with them, I would then give them the grade. Because I said to them, I want you to read the feedback. That's the most important factor of this assignment. Is the feedback that I've given. The feedback I spent hours writing up for you. You better be reading it.
You know what I did one time? I don't remember when this was, but I did something similar. And then I asked them, what do you think you should get? You know, what
That's
do you think?
interesting.
What mark do you think you should get after you read all the feedback? And it was, most of the time it was very accurate.
Mm,
You know, because if they can, it's like a self-assessment, even though I did the assessment, but it's like comparing your assessment with mine, and
mm.
a lot of times it will match.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's quite good because it also makes them to actually realize or understand the level they're at.
Yes, yes, yes. I don't do it all the time because it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it's quite, yeah, it is
But
quite.
you know, I've done it in the past,
Mm,
and it
mm.
was very interesting to see how my markings will many times match theirs.
Yeah, yeah, because it means that they're thinking, they know what, they know what level they're at, which is
Yes,
interesting, which
yes.
is really,
You know,
really
because sometimes they
interesting.
would say, but why did I get this mark if I only had this? You know, but if they're able to see, or sometimes they will compare themselves, especially younger students, like compare a student's assignment with another one. And why did I get this? And he did the same, but but let's focus on yours
Mm,
and tell me what do you think about this?
mm.
And so, yeah, it takes a lot of time, but feedback has many advantages. So even if it takes time, sometimes I guess we need to spend more time on feedback, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you there because I think that is the developmental process for the
Yes,
students.
yes,
Because and it makes our life easy as well. I spend a lot of time on feedback,
yes, yes,
not because I want to, because I give very detailed feedback, because I do not want the next assignment I give you to come back with all these errors.
yes.
And if that is going to make my life easier, I
Yeah,
am going to spend
exactly.
an hour on one piece of work giving you the feedback. So which means when you give me the next assignment, you better be making
Exactly. That's what I
correction.
tell them. I spent all this time, give writing feedback for you. So I want you to spend all this time paying attention to the feedback that I wrote to you.
Yeah,
It's like, but I think it's like negotiating. Okay, this teacher cares because she's spending all this time to give me this feedback. So I better, you know, work hard.
yeah,
Whereas when you only see a mark, you're like, where did this number come from? Why? Why did I get a 7 instead of a 10? There's nothing here that tells me why I got this mark.
yeah.
So it's like a compromising, this. I
Yeah,
think so.
it is very true. Have you got anything else to say to us, Katharina?
No, it was just very exciting, very it was a learning experience to do this, to have this discussion. So no, I just want to say thank you
Yes,
for
thank you
having me.
very much.
Thank you for bringing these topics to discussion. I think it's something that we should do it more often, discuss these things. We learn from each other's experiences.
Yes,
So I appreciate it.
yes. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And thank you, Facebook, for tuning in. And you guys going to see me tomorrow with another topic on the Female Educators Roundtable. Thank you. Bye-bye.